Hey, what up, guys? It's your boy APT Songs here. I believe my mic is on. I should be able to be heard. So if you can't hear me, let me know. Anyway, yeah. So today's show, I don't do a whole lot of lives as of late, but I thought this was a big story, and so I figured it warranted being talked about a little bit. So as you guys may be aware of, this guy, DJ Steven Twitch Boss, he unalived himself, and there's been a lot of stories in the news about it. And I wanted to talk about it because I'm out here in Hollywood, and oh, good, that's the sounds working great. So yeah, I'm out here in Hollywood, and unfortunately, this is not the most surprising news that I heard today, because it's been too many times of famous people that seem to have everything together. They have the perfect family life. They have the perfect, job going on. And yet we find out by them offing themselves that life was not quite as it appeared to be, and they weren't as happy as they could have possibly portrayed. So I want to just kind of talk about that a little bit and just talk about a few points. But first, we'll go over the story here itself here. So let's see. I'll do this. Okay, so here's the story. DJ Steven Twitch Boss, Ellen's DJ, dead at 40 by unaliving himself. I have to say it that way because if I read this word, I can get demonetized. I don't know why. YouTube's weird. Anyway, so we'll read the story first. So Steven Twitch Boss, the famed DJ on Ellen DeGeneres' talk show, is dead, and TMZ has learned it appears to be that he unalived himself. Law enforcement sources tell us that Steven's wife, Allison Holker, ran into an LAPD station Tuesday, and she was frantic because she said Steven had left home without his car, something that was not like him at all. We're told a short time later, around 11:15 a.m., paramedics got a call for a medical emergency at an LA hotel, and they found Steven there dead from an apparent self-inflicted weapon wound. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Holker tells TMZ, Steven lit up every room he stepped into. He valued family and friends and community above all else, and leading with love and light was everything to him. She continues, he was the backbone of our family, the best husband and father, and an inspiration to his fans. To say he left a legacy would be an understatement, and his positive impact will continue to be felt. I am certain there won't be a day that goes by that we won't honor his memory. Concluding, Steven, we love you, we miss you, and I will always save the last dance for you. Oh, that's sweet. He has met his wife on a dancing show. He says Steven started DJing on Ellen's show in 2014 and was with her until the show ended in May 2022. He had become an executive producer on the show in 2020. He really got his big break in showbiz in 2008 when he was runner-up on So You Think You Can Dance. He went on to do some acting, landing several roles where he could show off his dance skills. He was also in the movie Magic Mike XXL, Photogs. Steven hosted reality shows like The Real Dirty Dancing, which aired on Fox earlier this year, and he and Allison teamed up for Disney's Fairy Tale Weddings on Disney+. A statement from Fox Entertainment, 19 Entertainment, and Dick Clark Productions reads, quote, "We will always remember Steven Twitch Boss for the light and joy he brought into our lives and into the hearts of so many. This tragic, painful loss of such a radiant and inimitable talent and beloved family is immeasurable beyond words, and we grieve alongside his family, loved ones, and fans. Twitch, we miss you dearly." And then they talk about he had 3 kids. He was 40 years old. In these situations, I always feel bad for when there's kids involved, because realistically, I want to feel sorry for the person that off themselves, but also I think about the wife, the kids, and this is the thing too. It seems like he had a pretty good life going. He was 40 years old. He had done plenty of awesome stuff in his career that people here in Hollywood would dream about: being on television, being able to travel, being able to be on multiple shows. But what I want to talk about is this part right here. If you look up here, right here, this is them holiday dancing. I hope they don't show an ad, but they probably will because it's TMZ. Yeah, long ad. So I'll let that load up. While that's loading up, so yeah, we see that, we have the impression of his life's going great and everything should be perfect. He's got the perfect wife. He's got the 3 kids. They all love him immensely. And he was on social media, on TikTok, where him and his wife would be dancing together. So this is an example of that. Will be so cold, but I So you see they're dancing together. There's like a nice tree back there. I didn't know he was a dancer because I didn't watch So You Think You Can Dance. I just knew from the Ellen show when he DJed, you know? So this right now gives us the impression he's happy. Him and his wife are getting along great. And they're dancing together. I mean, that's a coordinated dance. They had to spend some time to get that together, you know? So, but that's the point that I want to make, is that oftentimes we see these celebrities and, you know, we see them doing all this stuff and living life big and having mansions and stuff and going on yachts and partying. And we see all this and we think they must really have it together. And I've been in Hollywood long enough now to know that that is not always the case, because, for example, that picture you see on social media where they're being really happy and, you know, posing in front of some boss place that they're going to travel to, they took like 10 minutes to get the right angle for that and light it up. And there was probably a little fight about, you know, the person not taking the right picture and then having to take it like 20,000 different times, you know? And so all this to say, for those of us that are watching, we're watching and they're giving the portrayal of everything is going great. And so I just want to kind of go over these 5 major points here, because I really think it's important to know that what you're seeing and what that person's experiencing are 2 different things. I think a lot of times we think that they're living the life and therefore everything's good. But just because you make it to a certain social status or have a certain amount of money coming in, none of that necessarily means that your mental health is in the right place. All right. So here are the 5 quick points I wanted to make as it pertains to this incident of DJ Twitch offing himself. Right. So the first point is this, is that, again, I've been out here in Hollywood for almost 14 years now. And what I've learned is that making it in Hollywood or reaching success, it doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. You know, even me, I moved out here with a knowledge of how Hollywood works and understanding that, you know, I can't have my happiness be determined by if I get a certain acting job, if I lose a part, if I get a part, if I lose out on a job, if I get a job, if, you know, if I get into relationships and they go well or they don't go well. Like, you can't let those things be the things that determine if you're going to be happy, because there are plenty of people that come to Hollywood and, you know, they're toiling it out and they're trying to be a writer on the show. They're trying to be an actor on the show. They're trying to, you know, be a boss chick or a boss dude behind or in front of the camera. And they finally make that goal. And I think the saddest thing that happens in Hollywood is people actually attain the goals that they set out for themselves, thinking it was going to make them happy, and they're miserable. Either they didn't know what all would come along with that goal, or they just, you know, had mental issues, or they had, you know, problems with their families in the past where they thought that if I just, you know, reach this certain goal of mine or have this certain success, then I'll finally, you know, feel that obtainable thing that I've been looking for, which is happiness. And people get that success and are still sad and can't figure out why they're just absolutely miserable. They're still crying. Maybe like, you know, they're alone, or like they made the success, but they always wanted like a family and kids. They don't have that. Or they have the family and kids and they made the goal, but they realized that that goal they wanted was really kind of hollow and doesn't actually bring the kind of fulfillment that they thought they were going to get when they got that goal. So this is why it's very important to have to work on your own mental health and try to define your happiness by other things besides if you're successful or not, because success comes and goes. Like with this guy, he was on Ellen for I think 8 years or so, and then the show went away. If he was going to base his happiness on if he's on Ellen's show, then this year was probably a bad year. Not that I'm saying that's what happened to him, but the point is, this is what happens when you are. I remember a while back, like Shaq of all people, people would question him on why, like, he would win a championship in LA and then like the next day be back in the gym instead of like, you know, partying or celebrating it up. And he said when he was little, his dad taught him, or either his dad or his mom taught him that, like, yeah, you get the success, you get the goal, great. What's the next thing? Like, don't rest your laurels on this one championship or this one thing, making you like having you be ultimately happy. You need to always be looking at the next thing and working towards other goals and dreams, but also don't let that trophy you get define if you feel good about yourself or not, because there's going to be plenty of losses that come also. And you have to be able to recognize that you can still be happy through the losses as much as the wins. But here in Hollywood, people get success. They get the success that they want. They get the job they want. They get the dream person they wanted to get all the time. And they find out it doesn't bring them happiness, because things and people and other things can't bring you happiness. You have to figure out a way to obtain your own happiness outside of the things that success in Hollywood can bring. So that's the first point. The second point I wanted to make is today we are in what I call an act like everything is okay culture. And that's catapulted by social media. So you got to think about the fact that, because I had a conversation with my brother today, because I posted on Facebook about this guy's death, and he said he used to watch him all the time, and like, you know, he thought that his family was like perfectly happy, and it just goes to show you just don't know. And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, you know, this really stems from early on in our childhood when we're told to take pictures with people, right? And what our parents always say? Oh, you got to smile for the picture. Come on, smile. You got to smile. From an early age, we are being told that when you present yourself to the public at large, you need to be happy and always smiling. And it starts with pictures as kids. And now we're in an age where it's worse because of social media, where every single post has to be, oh, I did this thing successfully today. Oh, I'm in this country. Oh, I'm with these people. I'm at this party. I'm at this place. I'm eating this food. I'm doing this thing. I'm at this concert. And look how happy I am. I'm living my lifestyle. Hey, people, look at me. I really am happy. I really am happy. And so it gives the impression off that everybody we know is okay. Even the people that will post things like, I had a really hard day today. Oh, but you know, it's going to be better tomorrow. Smiley face. Like, even when they're depressed and unhappy and trying to post about it, they're still knowing that they need to smile in their picture and act like everything's okay. So how are we supposed to then know if somebody's actually not okay? Like, if all we're seeing in social media is like the only time that they post is when they're, you know, doing some kind of accomplishment or some kind of goal or doing some kind of happy event, how are we supposed to be able to tell that our friends and family are not actually okay? Right? Which leads to the third point that I want to make, which is this, is that when a tragedy like this happens, what is the one thing that everybody says? Everybody comes out and says, oh man, we didn't know. Hey, you need to check on your strong friends. This is why you got to check on that strong person that's in your group that doesn't look like they're upset or mad about anything, or that their life seems to be going great and they're strong. Well, you got to check on your strong friends because, you know, they could be hiding something. But here's the problem with that logic, all right, is that if those strong friends of ours or whoever it is aren't telling us that they're not okay, how do we help them? Like, realistically, it'd be nice to be able to say, hey, let me check on my strong friends and say, hey, you know what? You're one of my strong friends. I just want to make sure that you're doing good. You all right? But what is the answer I'm probably going to get? Well, I'm probably going to get the answer of, oh yeah, man, everything's fine. You know, I'm doing good. Just my family just got back from this trip and we're doing our dances on TikTok and I just got this new job and this show with Ellen. Like, everything's going to be, it's so great. So I'm doing, you see my life, I'm living my life. It's amazing. It's great. So our strong friends / other people probably aren't going to tell us that they're not okay. Because the reality is most people know that other people don't want to hear about our problems and don't want to be burdened by them. And we don't want to come across as that friend that every time we come around and we're depressed, we're talking about our depression. We're talking about how life's not really great for us. We're talking about how even though we got that success at our job, we're still not, you know, happy, whether it's because of unbalanced chemicals in our bodies or whatever we did in our past or whatever. Like, they know people just don't want to hear about it. So how do strong people come out and then tell their friends, I'm not okay, knowing that they're going to be judged for that? And this is why, as friends, just in general, it's always good to try to be as little judgmental as possible. For example, take me, right? I have a wide friendship group, and I have friends that come to me at times and tell me about just random stuff, like, you know, either secrets that they've been holding or things they've been going through that they won't tell anybody else. But I've built up a reputation at this point of not being a blabbermouth, but more importantly, being somebody that will actually sit there, listen to them, and more importantly, not judge them on what they're telling me. And because I've established that kind of situation with the majority of my friends, when they're going through stuff, they know they can come to me if they need to get it off their chest and talk to me and say, hey man, like, I'm going through this thing, this is not going well. And even if I can't necessarily, like, you know, help them with the solution, just the fact that I'm a listening ear to them lets them feel like they're at least able to get some of the burden off as they're trying to figure this stuff out. And so you got to be that kind of friend, because too many people will be like, say I was a person that somebody came to me and said, oh man, like, I want to do simple stuff. Because early on, your friends will test you. They'll say some stuff like, man, I want to like go to this like place to eat and get like an ice cream sandwich with bacon on it. And then if your response is like, you want to get bacon on a sandwich, right there, you've made a judgment. And that person now knows that if they can't come to you with some weird stuff that they want to do and not be judged by you, then when they're going through some hard stuff, they definitely can't come to you because you're either not going to listen or say, brush them off and say, that's just silly, that's not a thing, yada, yada, yada. And that's really how we chase away people that we would normally talk to about stuff, because we've experienced in the past getting little judgment from them. So we definitely don't want to be judged by them when there's big things going on in our lives. So to that I say, yes, check on your strong friends, but also be a friend that is open to some of the strange things your friends will tell you, because you never know if by doing that, they're going to trust you later on with bigger things when they're going through like major emotional problems or situations in their lives. The fourth thing I wanted to say, the fourth point, is that pain realistically can be a temporary thing, but only if you have a pathway out. And there are ways that you can curtail the pain. So I can't say I'm a person that has ever, like, in terms of the span of my lifestyle, I've never had like full blown on depression. I've had moments in my life where I couldn't figure stuff out and I was depressed as a benefactor of that. But I also had the default thought of, I'm depressed about this now, but eventually I'm going to figure it out. This too shall pass. And so sometimes you just got to know that you're going to suffer through some depressional stuff until you get to the other end, when you realize, oh, this is why I went through all that depressive stuff, because I had to get to this point and maybe have more empathy on the other end for other people. But I say that to say, so there are people out there that just, whether it's their background and stuff, or just, maybe they did drugs or whatever, or just a plethora of things. They got, assaulted in some way. The point is, there are plenty of reasons why a person may have lifelong depression. And so I can't really speak to that. I tell those people, hey, don't talk to me about that. Like, go get medical help, if you need to get on prescription stuff, whatever. But that said, I've also noticed in my life that there are things that affect how you feel about yourself. Drugs and alcohol being one. Alcohol is very much a depressant. I do find that at the times when I drink, I notice that the next day there's like a slump in my mood, or I feel slightly less than confident about myself. I notice that when I eat out fast foods, that I get really groggy and irritable, and I get headaches, and I get tired, and I don't want to be around people. And these are things that I don't think people always are aware can actually cause you to have depression, or if you have depression, can actually make you feel it even more so. So you got to look at like the American diet. Most of us are on like fast food and restaurant food. Well, I got news for you. If you're paying attention, you may recognize that those kind of things can actually change your mood up. So now, if you add, you're depressed, let's say you're clinically diagnosed with depression. This is why people that are clinically diagnosed with that stuff should be not drinking alcohol and should not be eating a lot of sugary or fast foods, because it alters your mood even more to feel worse, And so I don't know what this guy had. I don't know if he was ever clinically diagnosed with depression or whatever. I don't know if he was eating or what he was, or it could be none of that. But the point is that, there's one thing between going through pain and offing yourself, because that's final. And there have been so many stories I've seen that come out where like a person actually survived trying to off themselves. Like they jumped off a bridge and then they landed and ended up in the hospital, but they didn't die. Or they tried to shoot themselves in the head and then they didn't die. But the people that have gone through that have said, at the moment that I did that, I realized I wish I hadn't done it. I wish I would have found a different way. And thank God I survived, because I was able to like come back and figure that out. So even in those moments where you're feeling like, I just don't want to be here anymore, or this is like the worst pain ever, I'll never figure out how to get past this thing. The reality is that you don't need to like almost off yourself to figure that out. You can just like talk to other people, try to get some medical advice, some psychologist advice, some therapy advice, and really try to go that pathway, because you might be in some pain now, but there is a way to remedy it. But you offing yourself, that way to get rid of pain is very, very final, and that's not something you come back from. And then the fifth point I wanted to make, and this is like probably a little bit controversial, because I know when people are talking about potentially offing themselves, it's about how they're feeling and about the pain that they're experiencing and how they can't get rid of it. And I understand all that, all right? But with that said, I'm still going to say the thing I'm about to say, which is that offing yourself is a cowardly and selfish act, and people in your life will be affected negatively by that. So I feel sorry that this DJ decided to off himself, but I think about the wife he left behind. They just celebrated their ninth wedding anniversary this past Saturday. So he's got a wife that's still here, and he's got 3 kids that now have to grow up knowing that their dad didn't want to stick around for them and offed himself, and there was no good reason for it in their head. I don't know. Again, he might have had his own justifiable reasons to do it, but in their heads, all they know is they got a dad that killed himself and wasn't wanting to stick around to see them grow up, to see them graduate school, get married, all that stuff. And I say this not as a means to try to like, put the onus on him, but to say to you that may be considering that you don't need to live for anybody. Like, I'm not saying you need to like keep yourself here for the benefit of other people, but recognize that aside from just hurting yourself, others will be impacted. I don't care if you think like you're the most unlovingly person or that you don't love yourself. Other people here care about you and love you. And if you can't see that and say, if these people love me, I need to figure out how I can get to a place where I love myself, then that is very, very tragic, because everybody deserves to be here. And I think that everybody has worth and has value, and you have worth and you have value. And if you're going through stuff and you can't find somebody to talk to, there are plenty of YouTube videos to look at. There are plenty of numbers out there. Now you can call off yourself hotlines. You can call up, again, therapists, psychologists. They have sliding scales for this stuff. If you can't afford to get one, they have insurance for it. But like, that should really be like not even an option. But if you're putting it on the list of options you have, it should be the absolute final option. If you've weighed out all the other things, you've talked to people, you've tried to, connect with people in various groups, you've tried to take medicines, this and that, I still wouldn't consider you doing it, but at least I'd be more understanding versus just like, it goes from this guy like, hey, I'm at my anniversary on Saturday. It's like, I'm going to go to a hotel and just off myself today. And like, there was no conversation with the wife about, I'm feeling kind of bad about my life, whatever, like just none of that. It's just such a selfish act, and it's cowardly. It is the chicken's way out. Again, I hope this isn't taken offensively, but the reality is that those kind of actions affect the family at large and people around you. And those people love you and want you to be here. If you don't want you to be here, at least recognize that that's not a good thought to have, and figure out what that means and how you can get it fixed, because it is not worth it to see all the pouring of love this guy got today in the news from all his collaborators and his friends, his family, people that in the industry that are just, by and large, they were such a nice, kind, caring guy. Like, they would have all been willing to be there for him and get him the help he needed, but he took the chicken's way out. And that kind of sucks. So hopefully none of you all that are watching this are going through this kind of stuff, but just know if you are, if nothing else, you can write to me. I'll write back some kind words to you if you're going through something, just to let you know that you have worth and value here. Like I said, I've had hard times in my life too. Like, it's sad that this guy had success and felt the need to off himself. I've definitely been through some hardships. I've had, songs stolen from me. I've at one point lived on and off in my car in Airbnbs for 10 months. When I moved to California, I was like taking these lowly jobs just to be able to survive. At one point, like cleaning my friend's apartment just to be able to get money. Like, I understand the struggle of being out here. And I still was like, but things will get better. So at the point where you've made success, you can afford the kind of therapy and psychologists and medicines that you will need to keep yourself here. But again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know the whole what's going on chemically in the brain that makes you think that you don't deserve to be here. So that's not something I can discuss. But just for those that are watching, just know that you have worth, you have value. I don't know who you are personally. If I do know you, who you are, just know that I care about you. If I don't know who you are, your family and friends care about you. And somebody out here that you are maybe unaware of is seeing you in your life and being like, you are a beacon of light in my life. But more importantly, you should be a beacon of life in your own life. And if you're not, figure out what that is and do the best you can to remedy it, because you deserve to be here and people care about you. I think that's really all I wanted to say. So thank you guys for watching this. Hopefully this message gets out to you in a positive way. If there's something that you disagree with about what I said, then hey, I'm always open to have that discussion as well. But for now, I'm going to sign off. Thanks for checking out. I'm APT Songs, and I will catch you guys on the next video. I'm out.